to Rwanda, in 2014, a popular gospel artist, Kizito Mihigo, was arrested shortly after he released a song that indirectly acknowledged that it's not just the Tutsis that were killed during the genocide in Rwanda, that Hutus were also killed. The man is Tutsi, and both his parents were killed in the genocide, making him an orphan. Yet, he's saying people should have empathy for the Hutus who were also killed in a revenge attack. Now, it's actually a song about people coming together in peace, in reconciliation, in unity. You know, he said death is death no matter who it happens to. And he just wants people to have empathy on others. Kagame, the president, is also a Tutsi, like Kizito, but there has been several reports that Kagame's army, the RPF, also killed Hutus during the genocide in a revenge attack in Rwanda, and that Kagame even invaded Congo, killing Hutus, including women and children. That's like invading another country. But you know, Kagame doesn't like people talking about the killing of Hutus. As far as Kagame is concerned, only the Tutsis were killed in the genocide. As a matter of fact, in 2014, BBC did a documentary and said Hutus were also slaughtered. And because of that, Kagame kicked the BBC out of Rwanda. Time and time again, he's arrested anyone that says that Hutus were also killed, because that would mean that he's acknowledging taking part in the genocide. Remember Victoria Ngabire, the woman who tried to run against Kagame in 2010? The moment she said that both sides were killed, he put her in prison for 8 years. A presidential candidate. I don't know, people say that he put his opponents in prison to make them afraid, but it looks to me like the person who is actually afraid is Kagame. I just don't know exactly what he's afraid of. I mean, if you have to constantly try to shut up your opponent, there's something that you're afraid of.
But according to President Kagame, seen here at a meeting with his soldiers shortly after the genocide, there were no revenge attacks. And despite all the evidence, no one is allowed to say that there were.
So when this gospel artist, who's very popular in Rwanda, Congo, Burundi, and other countries, released that song in 2014, they arrested him and they put him in prison for 4 years. A gospel artist. They accused him of terrorism. They also said that he denied the genocide simply because he acknowledged both sides. This was his audio recording while in prison.
Dans les jours suivants la sortie de cette chanson, j'ai subi des insultes, des menaces et des messages me prévenant que quelque chose de mauvais allait m'arriver.
Do you know that a week after he was arrested, this is what Kagame said?
A few days after Mihigo's arrest, he said in a speech, "I'm not a singer. I could never sing in praise of those who wish Rwanda harm. He who threatens his country's peace must pay."
And while in prison, Kizito had sent out an audio recording of how the chief of staff invited him to the office of the Senate president, where they told him that Kagame didn't like his song.
J'ai été invité par la directrice de cabinet du président et le rendez-vous a eu lieu dans les bureaux du président du Sénat. L'actuel président du Sénat, à l'époque, il était vice-président du Sénat. Tous les deux m'ont dit que le président n'avait pas aimé ma chanson. J'étais allongé par terre et on m'a frappé sur les fesses.
Wow. So in 2018, they released him, but they kept monitoring every of his movement. Last year, he didn't show up at the 25 years, the remembrance of the genocide. He normally would go and he would even perform there, but his stand is, even though it is mostly the Tutsis that were killed in the genocide, both sides should be remembered. That's his stance. So on the 13th of this month, a day before Valentine's Day, they arrested him and accused him of trying to cross the border illegally to join a terrorist group in Burundi in order to destabilize Rwanda. First of all, the place where he was found, yes, it's not far from the border, but it was actually his hometown. And the man was still in Rwanda. I don't get it. And even if he was trying to go to another country, how do you accuse a gospel artist of trying to go and join terrorists? I don't get it. And then on the 17th of this month, the government of Rwanda announced that Kizito committed suicide in police custody. So he didn't commit suicide the time he spent 4 years in prison. He didn't commit suicide the 1.5 years that he's been released, but suddenly he committed suicide in police custody. Abba.
We want to reach out to our fellow Africans, people around our country of Rwanda, our neighbors, and anyone else who is interested in justice, in the rule of law, interested in peace, interested in people living without fear for their lives. interested in the idea that people can have freedom of speech, the idea that people can live in a country where the government serves them and does not terrorize them.
Now that is Rwandan activist Peter Mutabaruka calling for all Africans to help them. According to him, Kagame is very interested in what other Africans think of him.
They are killed, they are disappeared, they are terrorized, their families are killed, their families are tortured. So it is something that is inconceivable for most Rwandans to speak out against the regime. And so Rwandans are not an issue for the president. The opposition is not really an issue for the president because he's made enough examples of them to keep them quiet. But what he is concerned with is his image outside the borders of Rwanda. The president is obsessed with other Africans singing his praises, making comparisons to their own leaders, and saying, look at the miracle that Kagame has managed to do in Rwanda. But this is a lie. There is no miracle in Rwanda.
You know, when I think about Rwanda sometimes, it reminds me of China a lot. Many people don't know that there's no freedom of expression in China. The government controls the media and all the information put out about China. Do you guys know that when the coronavirus broke out, the government didn't allow the media to report it to the outside world? In fact, so many people died and they were not even counted. And then they arrested the doctor that warned people about the outbreak. Not only that, at least 5 people have gone missing within the time that this virus started, just for saying enough is enough.
武汉这个事情，武汉这个瘟疫，都是有计谋、有计划发出来这个瘟疫，牺牲的是我们平民老百姓。我发声，我也很危险，我也知道，但是我已经受不了了，受不了了。
Yet, China is building roads, they have fancy buildings, just like Rwanda. But in the 26 years that Kagame has been ruling Rwanda, you never heard about the people there protesting. Even when they demolished the homes of poor people in Kigali last December, in fact, some of these people are still homeless. The government said it's because of climate change, but the fact remains that some of these people are still homeless and they still cannot protest. No one protested when the government closed down more than 8,000 churches in 2018. 8,000! Me, I'm not saying that churches shouldn't meet safety, hygiene, and structural requirements, but closing down 8,000 churches is taken into another level, and nobody could say anything. If you have any opinion that is different from that of the President Kagame, you are not allowed to share it. So Rwandan activists are asking that you do a few things.
One is to disregard the lies that you've heard about Kagame, about his regime in Rwanda, and do some research, some critical research, and see what's really happening in the country.
Also, they want you to denounce the killings of innocent people in Rwanda and call for justice.
Let him not continue to enjoy favor based on the lies that he has propagated around Africa and around the world, where people see him as a savior, where people see him as a good leader, when the reality is that he is the murderous, tyrannical dictator that is oppressing the people of Rwanda and of the region around.
Lastly, a few days after Kizito's arrest, another activist, Fred Barafinda, who tried to run against Kagame in 2017, was also arrested, and his whereabouts is still unknown. That was after they took him to a mental institution, saying that he has mental problems.
We're afraid that Fred Barafinda may also get assassinated, and we just want to alert the world to know and make sure that we ask the questions before it happens, and if it happens, that the government of Rwanda is held accountable for it.
Rwandan activists want you to keep asking the government about Fred Barafinda. Our sincere condolences to the family of the gospel artist, his friends, his loved ones. May he so rest in peace. You guys not know much. Guess what? I'm just keeping it real.
Nabona abantu ndabasabira